simple as that. You know, he took the crown, didn't he? The British, the Wembley crown for this evening. Tyson Fury was ringside, of course, but that's where he goes off the back of this. And as regards the Wilder division, I never care who wins. Genuinely, I never do. But he's younger than the other guys. Yeah. And it's maybe not the worst thing for the regeneration of the division, because Usyk's 37, 38, Tyson's 35, 36, Zhang's 40, Wilder's, I think, probably done. Joshua 34, knocking on 35, Daniel's 27.
Yeah. Was that a factor? Was his youth, his exuberance, his energy, was that a factor tonight?
Possibly, because you don't really know what an accumulation of camps and fights can do to somebody as they get older. But a heavyweight generally, mid-30s, you know, you're still pretty much firing on all cylinders. And he looked very focused on his way to the ring, Joshua. I thought that experience would be a real factor. But looking at Dubois on the ring walk, that's what I've been waiting for all week, basically, because I always felt that if he could get to the first bell mentally intact, then it was almost anybody's. And he did. When he made that final walk down from the ramp and he just basically sort of started bellowing to himself, I just thought, great. Yeah. You know, he's where he needs to be. And he had a long wait in the ring, and sometimes that can send people for a loop, but he didn't let that bother him either.
You know, I also have been waiting for the ring walk, so apologies for any audio issues you may be experiencing. I think they're testing a few things with the sound, but I too was waiting for the ring walks. You look at Daniel Dubois' ring walk against Filip Hrgović, all business. It was gloves together, I'm going to go and do this. It was the same with Big Baby Miller. Where he did something different was against Alexander Usyk. Big stadium, everyone against him. He started going out singing, dancing, and it just wasn't Daniel Dubois. And I thought then he's doing a bit much. Tonight was perfect.
Yeah, it was. You could tell that he was enjoying it, but that he was zoned in. He was kind of walking through it. He was witnessing something that was happening around him rather than have it kind of happen to him, if that makes any sense. It was just a mega night, and on a platform like the one we've got tonight, you want a main event like that. That's what you, as we said at the start, that's what you really pray for, because it was just absolutely breathtaking in a way that other sports just can't be. You know, I love some other sports, but they're not this, are they?
This was, it's just perfect. All week they've been talking about it could be a heavyweight Hagler Hearns. Frank Warren was absolutely adamant this is going to be a heavyweight Hagler Hearns. It's not often you actually, like you say that. Of course, you know, they're promoters. They're going to say it's the best fight ever.
Exactly.
And it actually was. It was unbelievable tonight. I guess a question is, Anthony Joshua, next steps. Obviously, you know, Ade asked him in the ring and he said, yeah, look, this isn't the last that you've seen of me. What do you expect to happen next with Anthony Joshua?
Well, there's a rematch clause, I believe. They were talking about that in the ring at the end, so I would fully expect Joshua to activate that. So I'd imagine that's what we'll see next. And that I'm good with that, because Tyson and Alexander, they don't box until December the 21st. So as for how quickly that could happen, though, given what happened to Joshua, I'm not sure, because you need a bit of a break after that, because a defeat like that is going to take some recovering from, not just mentally, but physically too, because those are big, heavy shots he took.
Yeah.
Dubois will probably feel like he could box tomorrow. You know, that's just the endorphin high that you get
he won't sleep
from
for
victory.
A week.
No, he won't.
He will not be sleeping for a week, Daniel Dubois. We've not seen Anthony Joshua stopped like that before. The Andy Ruiz, that was, you know, in the corner, something weird happened, but he was up on his feet, he was ready to go. A real testament to Daniel Dubois' power. That's legit. He went into this fight as the heaviest hitter in the Ring Magazine's top 10. And people were maybe downplaying that, saying that, you know, not proper stoppages against Hrgović. He was all cut up. That was genuine, heavy hands. He's the heaviest hitter in the heavyweight division right now.
Yeah, I think you'd have to say he is, because it was Wilder for a long time, and correctly, but you can't give him that mantle anymore, because he's barely landed anything in the last two fights. So I felt like whoever won tonight would be legitimately the biggest puncher in world boxing, and obviously you have to give that crown now to Dubois, and that's a hell of a thing to have. It really is, because as you say, Joshua, he kept getting up against Andy Ruiz. He was caught with that kind of odd punch high to the head, which really got everything going. And that can really scramble anybody. But at the end there, in all the chaos, I'm not absolutely certain if Marcus McDonald got to 10. I think he did. That's a knockout.
I feel like I saw a towel come in at the same time. Did you see that?
I couldn't see everything that was going on, to be honest. But
there was a lot of chaos.
This is a really, really boring, pedantic point. But in the UK, for it to be a knockout, the referee needs to reach the count of 10.
Right.
If he suspends the count or a towel comes in and he doesn't reach the count of 10, it'll go down as a TKO. But really, it's a knockout.
Yeah.
In America, in Nevada, for example, the referee suspends the count because somebody's out cold. Mm-hmm. They call that a knockout. But whatever way you look at it, he knocked him out.
Yeah.
He didn't just stop him, he knocked him out. And there's a difference.
Yeah.
There's a difference in doing it, and there's a difference in it happening to you.
It looked like it might happen to him. In that final round, AJ suddenly, out of nowhere, started landing clean, started landing heavy. I think there were two big right hands, which may have floored any other human being, but Daniel Dubois withstood them like he withstood them against Filip Hrgović.
Yeah, he did. And it was really interesting watching the replay because Joshua lands that big booming right hand and it hits him on the jaw and his knees go a bit and he sets himself. And then he lands another one, and then he steps in Joshua, and there's this little smile just forms on his face, and he's thinking, "Oh, okay, we're doing it. It's on." And then we saw what happens. He opened out to throw, and so his momentum's coming forward, which makes it doubly impactful when you get caught.
Talk to me a little bit about the just the occasion, Andy. I mean, it was 96,000 tonight. It was Sweet Caroline. I think they showed. You know, I was speaking to Spencer Brown earlier in the week, and he said, His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh, he's not going to believe what he sees tonight. He's not going to believe what he hears. And I think the camera came to him during Sweet Caroline, and he looked like he was loving it. What a night! What an occasion! Record-breaking. No,
it was absolutely sensational. I've been really lucky that I've been here twice for Joshua before this. For Klitschko and for Povetkin, once with Tyson Fury, to Spurs twice with those two, to Cardiff twice with Joshua. This is the best that I've experienced because the atmosphere was sensational. Liam Gallagher was great. He was on for just the right amount of time.
Yeah.
Everybody loved that, and the ring walks were just absolutely immense. And the adrenaline that was flowing as the main event's been kind of ushered in when you get that period where you know that the support fights are over and what's coming next. The storm clouds are gathering, and it just gets into you, doesn't it? Everyone there just gets into you, and there's no way you should ever try and fight it, but even if you did, you wouldn't be able to. It just invades you kind of through every pore. There's nothing like it.
There's nothing like it.
And you're right, seeing Turki's face at ringside was brilliant because he's brought this here, this unbelievable Riyadh season travelling circus, and he'll be really glad he did. And that's what we want, isn't it? Because somebody spends all that money on a promotion to make it like it was. You want them to have a good experience, and I'm pretty sure he did.
Look, and I think with those two, with Anthony Joshua and Daniel Dubois, and we're expecting someone to join us very soon up on the stage behind us. I don't know if it's going to be Daniel Dubois and Frank Warren or Anthony Joshua and Eddie Hearn, but keep with us because people will be joining us on the stage. But just a nod to the whole week. Riyadh season has arrived in the UK this week, and they've done things very, very differently. We were grand arrivals. We were at Leicester Square. Buckingham Palace was in Wembley Arena. We went to Trafalgar Square for the weigh-in. It's been an unbelievable week, and I guess we've sampled some of that Riyadh magic that we've been so lucky to go out for.
Yeah, we did, and I think they've got everything right, to be honest with you, because there's nothing wrong with doing the obvious. For grand arrivals, let's go to Leicester Square.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you? For a weigh-in, Trafalgar Square.
Normally it's cost prohibitive. I would have thought
that's the reason why it doesn't happen. Yeah. But they chose the right locations. The Guildhall was good. I think we're back there next week for something. And I just think the whole thing was a big success. The undercard fights didn't quite catch fire, but they were decent enough to watch. That was pretty impressive from Hamza Shiraz.
Yeah, I think let's talk a little bit about the undercard. I think the key story was in chief support. Hamza Shiraz did something to Tyler Denny that nobody's done before. He stopped him in 2 rounds, knocked him down in the first round as well. Tyler Denny, brave as you like, he's only ever been stopped on a cut before. I know he's disappointed. he's not happy with his performance tonight. But that was special from Hamza Shiraz.
It was, and it's one of those ones where I think over time Tyler Denny will come to kind of realise and accept what actually happened there, because he got scuffed with the left hand and ended up going down, and we were wondering whether it was more a kind of balance issue, but I think maybe it's just that Shiraz has got really heavy hands. And when he put him down the second time, he hit him on the top of the head 2 or 3 times. Perfectly legal blows, but punching down, and then he dips. He's hitting him on the top of the head hard. You remember when Golovkin used to left hook people on the top of the head? That really weird shot they used to throw. I'm not saying Shiraz is Golovkin, but he is a big, big puncher. And it just took his balance away. 20 seconds later, he probably would have been absolutely fine. But in the moment when the referee's looking at him and wanting him to do certain things, his body just wouldn't quite do it, which is why he stopped it. But that doesn't normally happen to you when you get hit by punches that didn't seem that big, but they kind of just shudder through your skull, and all of a sudden, your body just won't respond.
Yeah, listen, Hamza Shiraz has got these long levers, and on the end of them are very, very heavy hands. They may be the heaviest hands in the middleweight division. That's 15 consecutive knockouts now in his career. Every middleweight that he's faced, he knocks them out. Chris Eubank Jr. was in attendance tonight. I'm not sure if he was ringside for Hamza's fight or not. I asked Hamza what he thought about maybe Eubank being around, and he suggested maybe Eubank, if he had seen it, would defecate himself. Let's say that. I'm not sure if Eubank would do that, but what sort of statement does it send out to the middleweight division?
It's not necessarily the kind of performances that's going to encourage somebody to get into the ring with you, or it might encourage them to kind of price themselves out, if that's possible with the Saudis. But it is, because they're not going to be taken for fools by anybody. We know that. I think Eubank might stay away, just because I do think he wants to try and win a world title, and he'll feel like he needs to get to Carlos Adames or Erislandy Lara or Janabek. I'm not saying that he would definitely beat any or all of them, but he probably needs to try and get to one of them before Shiraz, possibly. I mean, I loved that fight. I thought it was a great fight, and when he asked for it, Hamza, after the 5 versus 5, I was pretty sure Eubank would take it, because it's a big money fight, it's a big platform fight. It just seemed like his kind of thing. But he's a shrewd man, and he's ended up on the Saudi card anyway against somebody, with respect to Kamil Jeremeta, who's not nearly the same kind of threat as Hamza Shiraz. So I think they might be better off just seeing what they can do with the Adames, Team Shiraz.
Well, I think on the Eubank front, I think there is an understanding from Hamza Shiraz. He's aware that maybe he needs to just increase the profile a little bit more fights, more big knockouts, just keep doing what he's doing. Tonight, chief support at Wembley Stadium, there was a roar as he entered the ring, and there was an even bigger roar as he exited the ring. That is star power. So he is building his stars, so that maybe someone like Eubank does have a look and say, hold on, who actually else is there? Maybe he starts making the hit list.
No, I agree with that. I think he is building that star power. He had Roberto Duran kind of following him into the ring for a bit, which is always impressive.
Yeah.
I thought his live music act actually worked as well. I think live music acts, when they're following a fighter into the ring, generally speaking, well, they can often be a bit of a disaster, to be honest, but I thought that kind of worked. And as we've been saying all week, he looks the part. He carries himself well. He's this kind of gentleman pugilist, if you like.
Yeah.
But make no mistake, he's in there to deal with you, and deal with you he will, in the most savage way he can, because that's the game we're in. Bit like Buatsi.
Yeah.
And I think he's doing everything right at the moment, Hamza Shiraz. He really is. He got some rounds in against Williams, carried that power late, got the stoppage there. That was good. And
Box
then
ticked.
Exactly, yeah.
Had a chin check in that fight as well.
Yeah, and now he stopped a European champion in 2 rounds.
Yeah.
And that's impressive.
Look, it's a tremendous vein of form that Hamza Shiraz is in. Just a welcome to viewers joining us on this live stream. We are at Wembley Stadium. We've just witnessed Daniel Dubois beat Anthony Joshua.
Frank and Daniel.
And Frank Warren, and I believe Daniel Dubois will be taken to the stage. Let's head over to Frank Warren and Daniel Dubois.
The IBF World Heavyweight Champion, Dynamite Daniel Dubois. done. Okay. Questions? Let's go. Yeah, pull that one over and you got them.
Yeah, I feel great. You know, did what we need to do, did what we came to do, and you know, we got the job done. You know, I'm just over the moon, and you know, I thank God, I thank my family, thank my father for getting me through this and getting me to this point, and I'm just glad that I've done it. Yeah. Yeah. That's right. Tell him. Yeah. Yeah.
From the first round, you looked very, very strong and focused. Is that what you worked on for your early attack?
No, I wasn't going to be denied tonight, you know, by any means necessary. Yeah.
Daniel, how was it for you to silence the doubters? You know, this was the birth of a megastar, I believe, tonight. Yeah. What did you make of Josh?
Close that door.
Yeah. Yeah, they were always saying I was going to get knocked out, and we all saw we got knocked out, and you know, I done the business, and I'm just, you know, I was glad I proved everyone wrong, but this is the start of my journey. This is the start for me.
Did it make it that much sweeter to sit in front of Fury and Usyk as well, because those guys are now eyeing up you as their next opponent?
Yeah, they're my targets now. They, you know, these are. I want to get my rematch and, you know, put the wrong right, and you know, God bless, and just come through it.
There is a rematch clause.
Congratulations on the win.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me a bit about your defence? That was something that everybody was questioning. You took those 1-2s off Hearn. How is he going to take that off Anthony Joshua? You went in there and you stood your ground. Talk to us about that.
Yeah.
Where they didn't count.
Yeah, they're all doubting me, but you know, the Lord had my back tonight, and you know, my family around me, so I wasn't going to be denied. He could have thrown everything at me. I would have come through it, and you know, that's all I have to say.
I endorse that.
Mic drop.
How do you reflect on your growth from defeat to Usyk until now? I mean, selling out Wembley Stadium. I mean, how do you reflect on your journey from that defeat to Usyk?
4 fights of the year.
Yeah, 4 fights. It was just a growing process for me, a growing journey. To me, tonight didn't even. It felt almost like a dream tonight in the ring, and I just had to seize the moment. So, you know, I thank my dad, I thank my, you know, God and my whole family for being around me and just keeping me grounded and, you know, giving me this opportunity. And I took it with both hands tonight.
Daniel, can you talk us through your journey, because you've won here in the capital. It's very much a London story. You're a Greenwich boy.
Yeah.
All of those amateur gyms you would have gone to get to this moment, to take on AJ in front of the world and to defend your belt.
Yeah, it's almost like a dream. It's almost like a dream, but yeah, we're just.
It's a dream come true.
Yeah.
Daniel, every week when we talked to you, we asked you why you were so calm, and you said it's the calm before the storm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why were you so calm? What did you do in the game plan?
Yeah, I'm calm anyway. Cool, calm, collective. Yeah.
Many years ago, you
That's
said
it.
this man is going to be a problem for the heavyweight division. He just beat the
Sorry, say it again.
Many years ago, you said that Daniel's going to be a big problem for the heavyweight division. He's just beat the former 2-time heavyweight champion of the world, a man who sold out Wembley on more than one occasion. What do you do next with him, considering the fact that you also look after another top heavyweight, Tyson Fury, and of course he's got a rematch coming up for Alexander Usyk? What's the next option for Daniel?
We'll see what happens on the 21st of December in Riyadh. Let's see what the outcome of that fight. Tyson, I believe, will win it. But the fight, I would love to see Daniel lace him up against Usyk again, because I believe that he should have won that fight, and I still believe it wasn't a low blow. And he's shown what he's all about.
Matt Lennon for Boxing Social. Daniel, you've been on one hell of a ride. It's been noted, everyone's questions. What was that turning point for you after the Usyk? Was there a specific moment in camp where you just went, you know what, I know what's going to happen here, and still had confidence to go on and do what you've done tonight and create history?
We had chats, didn't we, after that fight?
Go on, stop.
We talked after the fight. We had a talk, and I still say it now. It's a fight that he could have won. I genuinely believe that. I'm not going to go along. I argue again about the low blow. We're living in the moment now. In the moment we're in now, this man just showed what he's all about. He went in as an underdog, according to a lot of people, big underdog. Most people had written him off, even in this fight had written him off, and I felt from day one that this was a winnable fight for him. And he went out and with a game plan of putting him on the back foot, and as I said at the time, whoever goes on the back foot in this fight, they're going to get beat. And he did that and stamped his authority on the fight from the first round. And it was an exciting fight, and I think it was as a heavyweight fight. It was a shootout at the end because Daniel got clipped. You know, you've got to take your hat off to AJ. He came back and he threw a big punch and caught him. But it became a shootout, and he done him with a counter. And it was our Hagler-Hearns moment. It was so exciting. And as I said, you go in there and, you know, because he's the nation's favourite, they cheered him, cheered AJ going in. But I said they'll cheer him when he comes out. Daniel with a belt, and that's exactly what the crowd did.
Daniel, you said before...
They know what he is.
Sorry, Frank. Daniel, you said before the fight that you needed to win tonight to prove to everyone you were a legitimate and to feel like a legitimate world champion. So has that sunk in that you are now a world champion, and how does it feel?
Yeah, definitely. It does. It feels great. I feel like the champ, and you know, I want to keep this belt, just keep this train running. It's great.
Do you still dream of next year perhaps having a shot at Undisputed?
For sure, yeah. Right that wrong and get back and, you know, just fulfill my full potential now.
Frank, Riyadh season has hosting a huge number of fights, a huge historical fight. One of them it was today. What do you think about it?
What do I think about
Riyadh season, yes.
This fight, the Riyadh season,
yes.
I've got to be honest, you know, for all of us, everybody involved in boxing and sport, it's been brilliant. It's not even a year, is it? You know, the first one was last October, which was Tyson, and it's just gone from strength to strength. It's changed the whole dynamic of boxing. It's enabled us to make some fights that we'd never been able to make, and undercards, you know, phenomenal undercards that you know everybody's enjoying it. And the proof is in the pudding is tonight. And Riyadh season came to London. All this week we've had a great build-up for the fight in iconic London buildings and attractions and sites. It's just been fantastic, and I generally feel that. And I read some of the negative stuff a couple of the leading writers wrote about this, and I find it amazing. Someone always wants to kick it. That, you know, this is for our sport. It's just been absolutely brilliant.
Daniel, has it sunk in yet? And what does the future look like for you?
Yeah, it's sunk in. I knew it was my night tonight. You know, my dad and everyone behind me pushing me on, and it was my night tonight. I wasn't going to be denied. And still. Yeah.
Nice. Amazing.
Yeah.
Daniel.
Sorry, you've been involved for boxing for a long time. Just talk to me. That's one of the best knockouts I've ever seen, one of the best fights.
Oh, it's phenomenal. I mean, you know, no one's done that to AJ like that, have they? Nobody has done it. And
Daniel.
This man's got phenomenal power in both hands. He's got a great chin himself, because AJ caught him with a couple of good shots, a really good. Was it right hand he caught you with? I think it was. He caught him,
so.
And he caught you with a good uppercut.
Yeah.
He caught him with some great shot, and he took him. He's got a good chin, a very good chin, and he gritted his teeth and came through it and done him with a counter. So for me, it's been. I like to be. You know, we started this journey together. The team, you know, with his dad, his family, and it's coming to fruition. You know, Don's done a fabulous job as his trainer, as his lead trainer. I mean, I take my hat off to him what he's accomplished, and he deserves every moment of it. It's just been a great ride, and it's going to get better and better because there's some brilliant fights to be made. And he's a young man. He's a young man. Well, you're 27 now, and that's young for a heavyweight. 27 years of age, and you look at the guys that are there now. There's some brilliant fights to be made. Some brilliant fights.
Daniel, Gunman Boxing. You laid him out like a picnic blanket. Did you know that from your early spars and your infamous spars with Joshua that you were going to be the power puncher in this fight?
I just knew tonight that this was my moment. I wasn't going to be denied, and you know, I thank the whole team. I thank my whole family for getting me through this and keeping me mentally strong and, you know, ready on it. And, you know,
with you all the way.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, could you mind if we just do 3 more questions, because he wants to get off and I can see all the family get away.
Frank, Antoine on ITV News. Frank, I know you're a historian of boxing. Where will this particular fight weigh up in the annals of time?
Where will this fight go? 96,000 people at Wembley. Go and ask them what their memory is going to be of this. It was a fabulous, fabulous fight. And I do feel it was our heavyweight version of Hagler Hearns, the way, especially towards at the end when they were both catching each other. It was just unbelievable. They took some big shots in there before it all ended. And I thought, and I'll tell you something, it weren't just about the punches. Daniel's jab is superb. He has a superb jab, and that was the key to winning this fight, by putting him on the back foot with that jab, and that's what he set out to do, and that's what he did.
And Frank, you said you've been there at the start of Daniel's journey across the small arenas to the big shows to the 96,000 at Wembley. Just how proud are you of his journey and what he achieved tonight?
I'm extremely proud of him because I believed in him. I believed in him, and when you had some people, some of the things they said, especially after the fight he had with Joe Joyce, when he had 4 fractures of his eye socket and was told that he had gone on, the retina would have come apart. And we wouldn't be here tonight. So it's very easy for some people on the safe side of the ropes to say what they say. But for me, he showed his character certainly in his last 3 fights. He's had to grit his teeth like you cannot believe against. He's had 3 undefeated fighters and AJ, the nation's favourite, and going in and all these fights. The last 4 fights, 4 fights in 4 years. An underdog, according to the press and according to the bookmakers, in every single fight. He was underdog in all of them.
Daniel, first of all, congratulations. Frank said there about the fact that you were clipped a few times by AJ. What did you make of his power, and how was it compared to what you were anticipating?
Yeah, you know what? You couldn't keep me down. He was going to have to nail me to that canvas. I was just unstoppable tonight, and it was a good fight in there. And I just enjoyed it. I enjoyed the whole moment, winning and coming through that, and fulfilling my potential tonight anyway. So, yeah, on we go. And we know that you're close to your dad, and we saw a video go out already of you two embracing in the changing room afterwards. What did he say to you in that moment? You know what? He's just proud of me, and just proud of the whole team effort. My dad, especially pushing me and keeping me on the right track.
As you talk sports, Daniel, congratulations. And we all know early on in your career you got some unfair critics about, not being able to handle it when the going gets tough. We know you've dispelled those rumours, and when the going gets tough, you get going. Do you think that was ever a thing, and has it been something that you've had to work on, or was it all a myth all along and you've always had that in you? No, tonight I became Daniel in the lines then, and I had to come through that. I was unstoppable tonight, and I was on a roll, and the Lord was with me, and I just come through it. Dynamite Dan. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, there you have it. Dynamite Daniel Dubois, jubilant, an ear-to-ear smile. Frank Warren over the moon as well. He did say after he beat Filip Hrgović, this is my time, this is my era. He's a very happy boy.
He is, and talking to boxers, they all say there's just no better feeling in the world than winning a fight, and plenty of them have played other sports successfully on occasions, but that just winning in the ring is like nothing else. And I could believe that. Yeah. I could believe that because of the pressure of it and the sheer jeopardy of it. Because the reality is, at heavyweight, when you've got 2 massive punches, what you want to do to the other person can always be done to you. Yeah. And every time you manage to escape from that ring, and it hasn't happened to you, it's a happy day. And then when you put on top of that the fact that he's retained that IBF World Heavyweight title, in a lot of people's eyes, that was him winning it tonight, basically, wasn't it? Yeah. People will look at it in a lot of ways as being kind of like a vacant title. Those 2 boxed for it, and he's now totally legit. It legitimises it. I think that was always the argument, because when he beat Filip Hrgović, it was for the vacant interim title. Usyk vacated, but forget all of that. Doesn't matter now.
None of it matters now at all. Do you know what Daniel Dubois kept saying? He said, I wasn't going to be denied tonight. He just had that spirit, had that will. Don Charles had been talking about this being a spiritual fight in the build-up. Daniel Dubois' father as well has talked about it being destiny. I guess when he's saying things like, I wasn't going to be denied, and then he's not denied despite shipping a few shots, maybe it was just written for Daniel Dubois tonight, Andy.
I think it can be sometimes, because fighters can be quite fatalistic about things. They talk about fights and what can and cannot happen, and they all accept that, you know, some you win, some you lose, and you never really know what's going to happen. But every now and again, they will say that they get this kind of feeling where everything has gone right, and they arrive at the week of the fight and they feel great. It's unusual, but they feel great. And then they wake up in the morning of the fight and they feel like they're exactly where they need to be. And everything throughout the course of that day just reinforces that. And self-belief is a fragile thing, but a massively powerful thing. It doesn't guarantee you'll win, but if you don't have it, you will definitely lose. Mm-hmm. And he's got it in bundles now, and he started well, and that was so important. Joshua was tentative with the jab, which I didn't really understand, if I'm honest. And as he came forward, Dubois was good with his jab, as we said, closed the gap, landed the right hand, and that just put that final bit of wind in his sails that he needed, because there would have been nerves there always is. But if you start well, then any lingering doubt you might have is wiped out.
Well, stick with us on the stream. We are expecting, behind us, up on the press conference table, we are expecting Anthony Joshua probably to be joined by Eddie Hearn as well, so he will address the media here tonight. And it's a big moment, really. I mean, there was a feeling of passing of the torch kind of vibe to it. It was a bit like Joshua Klitschko. It had that kind of feel about it. How do you feel AJ will deal with this loss?
It'll be difficult. It'll be difficult because defeats always are, because defeats at heavyweight, they can be very, very bruising in all sorts of ways. It was against Ruiz, that was the first one, and hard, obviously. Usyk was a different kind of experience, but that second one in particular I think was really, really difficult because he did a lot better the second time, but he still couldn't translate it into a win, and the pressure and expectation of that resulted in him doing what he did in the ring afterwards. And then with this, it was kind of a homecoming in a way, because he boxed Usyk at Spurs, but he lost. So he hadn't had a big stadium win in the UK for quite a while, and that's what he was looking to achieve this week, and it hasn't happened. I don't think there'll be any thoughts from him about hanging them up. I don't see that. I'm not saying he should either, but it'll be hard the next few weeks. It'll be difficult. It's a grim place they go to, boxers, when they get beaten, particularly when you get knocked out. Yeah. Because that is, I mean, it's a violation, isn't it, of sorts, and it's a crushing of your own ambition. And he will blame himself, because that's what they all do. The idea that somebody can just be better than you on the night, that doesn't really work as an explanation to explain away the defeat and allow you to rehabilitate yourself and come back. You have to think of something better than that. Yeah. You have to think of something weird if you need to, like Wilder did against Fury.
Like Manny Pacquiao post Floyd Mayweather. There were things about shoulders. Fighters often do it, but AJ didn't make any excuses in that ring. He didn't say this happened in camp or anything like that. Very magnanimous, and there was no antics.
Yeah, he was. I think he'll stay that way, to be honest. I think he will stay that way, but maybe privately he'll be able to come up with some reasons. He needs to be able to come up with some reasons. You don't have to tell everybody else. People generally do, but you don't have to tell everybody else. It didn't go well for him tonight. He didn't, he didn't perform in the way that he would have wanted to, and that was ruthlessly exploited by Dubois.
I think AJ will probably be furious with himself. It's one of those. We know that he is meticulous in his preparation. We know that he is all about self-improvement. He takes every single percentage to try and get better and better, listens to motivational stuff, tries to take in as much information as possible. I'd imagine this will be something that he will be watching back again and again and again, thinking, how can I get him back?
Yeah, he will be, and he's got that rematch clause, so he can go down that. He can go down that road, and if you've performed poorly, and I think the conclusion he will reach is that he beat himself as much as Dubois beat him. I think that's what he'll come up with as the reason why he lost, and that will mean that he will definitely take that rematch. He took the immediate rematch against Ruiz. He did it against Usyk. This is a guy who does not shirk. challenges.
No, absolutely not. And yeah, a nod to that. He didn't have to fight Usyk. I know Usyk was the very first time. Usyk was his mandatory. There were other options. You could have swerved that. You could have navigated away around that fight.
Yeah,
said,
you always can.
Yeah, you can say
when you've got the marketability he's got, you always can.
But he took on Alexander Usyk. He did it at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. We've got to give him credit. Even now, Daniel Dubois, he's taken on essentially a young, hungry lion when he himself is nearly 35. He's taken on the challenge of this guy who, maybe for the first time in a few fights, he's got a guy in front of him who was genuinely trying to take his head off. He did it from round one as well. And, just very curious to see how he does deal with it, what he's going to say up there. But a big night for Frank Warren and Queensbury as well. You can't shy away from that. I mean, there was the whole 5 versus 5 tonight. Kakachi picked up the win over Warrington. Daniel Dubois has done that to Anthony Joshua. Frank will be flying.
Yeah, absolutely. He is the man at the minute, isn't he? I don't think there's not much more you can say about that, really. And I thought Willie Hutchinson, to be honest, showed a lot in that fight too. It was a bit too soon for him, as it turned out. There's quite a big golfing experience between those two. But he just stayed in there. I thought he was going to come apart in the second half. It looked a couple of times like he might, and he didn't. And he actually finished quite strong.
He did, yeah.
The split decision was crazy. He didn't win that fight. But there's a lot to build on there for him to come again. But no, Queensbury are having a right old time of it the last few months.
And on that, by the way, Joshua Buatsi picked up the split decision win over Willie Hutchinson. We've all seen the fight, I'm sure. Buatsi was strong. He was just strong. And Willie Hutchinson was landing a few heavy, clean shots, sometimes in combinations. He was countering in combinations, but couldn't make a dent in Joshua Buatsi, really. Buatsi had Willie Hutchinson down a couple of times. Willie Hutchinson showed a lot of heart to keep getting up. It was a thrilling fight at light heavyweight.
It was a good fight. And actually, I thought Hutchinson did. I think he did buzz Buatsi up a couple of times. And I think that was why Buatsi, rather than really put the hammer down, although I think he was feeling the pace too, because it wasn't one of those fights where you looked at it and felt like, wow, this is a breakneck tempo. They were on each other all the time and throwing all the time, so it was a grueler. And I think Buatsi realised, actually, this guy's got enough left here and he can crack a bit and he's still dangerous. I don't need to take any undue risks here. And I give Hutchinson a lot of credit for that, because around about the 7th or the 8th round, I was thinking to myself, this looks to me a bit like a final hurrah. He's setting his feet and really letting his hands go, thinking, I'm getting low on gas here.
Yeah.
I haven't got much left. I need to try and knock him out. But then he managed to keep going. So, yeah, it was a good watch, that one. It was a good watch.
Kakachi against Warrington tonight as well. Anthony Kakachi picked up the unanimous decision win over Josh Warrington, and I guess there's two real stories from that. Kakachi retains his IBO world title. The IBF wasn't on the line, but also at the end, Josh Warrington left his two gloves in the middle of the ring, almost symbolic that maybe we won't see him again in a ring.
Yeah, maybe that's what that was about. It was kind of an interesting night on the scorecards, because I felt like Josh Kelly outpointed Ishmael Davis quite handily, and the cards were really close. I felt like Kakachi beat Warrington, but that it was quite kind of clear winner in a close fight. 7-5, 8-4, not 10-2. But then again, the right people got the decisions, so it's not one to complain about too much. But I thought Warrington was good. I thought he stuck to his game plan. I thought he got up tight. I thought he attacked the body well. Kakachi just had that bigger air of danger about him and put a dent in him a couple of times and hurt him a couple of times. Just kind of got on top of him. But if he does go out, Warrington, that is a perfectly acceptable way to go out, because massive night, and he did himself no disservice at all. Only he will know if he's got it in him, basically, to do another training camp. That's largely what it comes down to sometimes. You get offered a big fight, and that's great, of course, but it's the bit beforehand that can really cause the problems. And if he's decided that he's been doing this for long enough and he's given enough of himself, then, I'll be the first one to shake him by the hand, because he's had an unbelievable career and he's been great for the sport.
Well, just a reminder to those just joining us on the stream, we are live at Wembley Stadium. Daniel Dubois has beaten Anthony Joshua tonight. We've heard from Daniel Dubois and Frank Warren at the stage behind us. We are awaiting Anthony Joshua and Eddie Hearn to hold a press conference to address the media here, joining myself, Dev Sani, and Andy Clark. And there was another upset tonight. Daniel Dubois beating Anthony Joshua was an upset. There was an upset first fight of the night. Mark Chamberlain loses out to Josh Padley.
Yes, I did not see that coming. I thought he boxed really, really well, Padley, and what he did really well was he just messed with Chamberlain's distance to the point where Chamberlain just never found it all night, and he's usually so good at that. Just keeps his feet underneath him, finds that distance, and just rolls those punches out, and with that natural power, that's taking care of people. But Padley was either just out of range or he was all the way in, and Chamberlain just couldn't get to grips with it. So you have to give Padley all the credit in that situation. Chamberlain will be disappointed with the performance, and yeah, like we said, he'll be very, very self-critical and blame himself. But in that instance, I just thought Padley, two judges had it 6 rounds to 4 for him, one had it 5-5. I thought they were good cards, actually.
Do you know, I've said it to a couple of fighters in the build-up about how, you know, how in the ring sometimes it's the punches that you don't see coming. Maybe it's also the fights that you don't see coming. I thought,
it's a problem. That it is a problem, because no matter how much you tell yourself, don't be flat, don't be flat, don't be flat, don't underestimate this person, it still ends up happening sometimes. Yeah. I saw it last year when Zach Chelly was supposed to fight Mark Heffron for the British title, ended up in with Mark Jeffers, not for the title, and he was flat. And Jeffers is really good, and he beat him. Yeah. Sometimes you try everything you can to guard against it, but you still fall into that kind of trap. But Padley did that to him. You know, he took him to that place, and he was great in the ring after too, wasn't he? His interview was tremendous. Basically just saying, come and, promoters come and get me, fighters come and fight me. Anyone can get it.
Yeah, well, listen, he's an electrician by trade. I don't think so anymore. I think he's very much a fighter by trade now, Josh Padley. He's arrived at lightweight, super lightweight. He actually said that this is the first time he had a camp. He really feels he's a super featherweight.
Yeah, I could believe that. Because, 140 is way too big for him. And that often happens when you get down to full-time training and you're able to rest better and eat exactly when you need to. Yeah, I could see that happening.
Well, in the main event, of course, ringside, it was a galaxy of stars. Tyson Fury was there, Alexander Usyk, Conor McGregor with a cigar, I believe. I think there were multiple shots of that. The world was here tonight, but in particular, I want to speak to you about Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua. For years, that has been the fight that people have wanted, the public have been crying out for. There were various moments in time it looked like it could be done. It now feels further away than ever, to me anyway. What do you think?
It does, because what people were looking at before this was Joshua beating Dubois, then Fury beating Usyk, and then we could have a Grand Slam all-British heavyweight undisputed smash-up here next year. That's what we were all looking at, and that would have been absolutely extraordinary, but we know better than to try and plan too far ahead, and it does seem like it's a long way away now. Mm-hmm. If Tyson was to lose to Usyk in the rematch, then you could see a way how they might do it at that point, because if you don't do it then, it's never going to happen. And it would still be big. But not as big.
Maybe even if he beats Alexander Usyk.
Yeah, I mean, it's always going to be a big fight.
Because of the names, the name value. Ultimately, this game at the highest level, when it comes to pay-per-views, it is just about how famous you are. There will surely still be a will and a want to see that fight, but people now also will be very curious as to what would Daniel Dubois do against Tyson Fury? What would this version of Daniel Dubois do against Alexander Usyk? He's got the heaviest hands in boxing. He appears to have the best jab in the heavyweight division. Usyk's not getting any younger. Maybe Daniel Dubois needs to be really looked at seriously here.
Well, of course. I mean, you look at what he's done tonight. Joshua's lost to 2 people before tonight. One was Ruiz, one was Usyk. Usyk with 2 defeats, but did much better the second time around. And I always felt that performance was kind of underrated in the aftermath. Unfairly so. So, Joshua's a top performer. People always like to tear people down, but he is a proven top performer.
Absolutely.
And going into this fight, people were talking in glowing terms about the rebuild and the performances against Wallin and Ngannou, and correctly. Mm-hmm. So we can't have any of this after timing where people try and claim that this isn't as big a win as it actually is, because that would just be utter nonsense. And Dubois against the winner of Fury against Usyk, there's the problem with the rematch clause, but that's the fight to make, isn't it? Because it's another fight for undisputed, particularly if Fury were to beat Usyk, because Fury would want another opportunity to become undisputed.
He absolutely would. It's fascinating. It's another point to what happens with these Riyadh season cards. We always spring a surprise. Remember coming back from Fury and Ngannou the first time. What on earth just happened? How did Ngannou just knock down Tyson Fury? So many little upsets have happened. Parker.
It's been chaos, hasn't it, when you think about it?
It really has.
It really has, because, yeah, we've both been on this train from the beginning, and Fury and Ngannou, I remember sitting there at ringside, and you got the ring coming up through the floor and the music acts, and fantastic, and then you get to the fight and you just think, okay, well, I'm pretty sure I know what I'm going to see here. To the point where I wasn't scoring it properly. Then all of a sudden Tyson gets knocked down. I thought, hang on a second, he might have won those first three as well, and then all bets are off and plans are made for Joshua Wilder, and of course they go out the window because Joseph Parker's got other plans. It's been great.
It really has.
Unpredictability is what sport's about.
It's been utter chaos. It has seen the birth and the rebirth of many stars in boxing. Think 3 fights ago, Daniel Dubois lost to Alexander Usyk there was a ton of controversy. Was it a low blow? Was it not a low blow? But ultimately, Usyk stopped Daniel Dubois. His heart was broken in that fight, and he started the rebuild job. Riyadh season comes along, 3 wins. Jarrell Miller, unbeaten. Filip Hrgovic, unbeaten. And now Anthony Joshua. Riyadh season has changed Daniel Dubois' life. You can say that, and so many others. Look at Joe Parker.
Yeah, and it's been good to see him around this week as well, isn't it? He's always tremendous company, and he'll want in on that scene, and rightly, because he's picked up these 2 big wins. I think Zhang wants a rematch, and he had a rematch clause too, so these rematch clauses could always complicate things, but you do feel like, with the people in charge that are in charge, that they might not necessarily mean as much as they have in the past. That's not to say that you won't get a rematch if you've got a rematch clause, but you might be able to be persuaded that you could wait, maybe. But yeah, Parker's been a big winner from it, certainly. And there's just been storylines all over the place, to be honest.
And the storyline tonight is that with Daniel Dubois. He's retained his title, he's legitimised his place as IBF World Heavyweight Champion. Welcome if you are just joining us. We are at Wembley Stadium, we're in the press room. We're expecting Anthony Joshua, probably with Eddie Hearn as well, to address the media very, very shortly. And what a night it has been, Andy. I mean, from the very start, upset with Mark Chamberlain and Padley, the very end, upset with Daniel Dubois. It was a bit of a firefight, that main event tonight. In terms of a scrap between 2 British heavyweights, that's right up there. It might be the best. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think so, because AJ against Dillian Whyte was good fun. You look back at Lewis Bruno, that was pretty entertaining while it lasted.
But it's in that company, isn't it? It's
It is. I think it's probably... I think for pure drama, it's at the top of that list, to be honest, because it was absolutely breathtaking whilst it was happening. It's kind of interesting that Joshua was coming to the press conference. You would expect him to, because that's the kind of person he is. He wants to front up when things haven't gone his way. So I'm not surprised he's doing it in the same way that Ngannou turned up to the press conference after he got knocked out. To be honest with you, they probably shouldn't.
You've mentioned that before. Obviously, look, Andy's written a whole book about the knockout, so you know all the science and stuff and what's going on.
It's not going to do them any harm. I'm not saying that, but I just think that in those situations, you should probably just not face the world's media. But they're proud people, and they want to. And if they want to do something, then good luck trying to stop them. You know, it's somebody may well be trying to persuade him. Look, I'm not really sure we need to do this. And then he'll be saying, no, I'm going. That's the end of the conversation, isn't it?
Yeah. No, look, credit to him, and just like he did. And let's head over now, as Eddie Hearn has joined. Let's head over to Eddie Hearn.
Good evening. So I am going to stay with you guys for 5 minutes or so. My advice to AJ is to not do a press conference. He wants to do a press conference. He wants to speak to you guys, so he's going to come in, he's going to talk. I'm not going to let him sit here for ages taking questions, but he's going to talk to everybody, and probably go on too long. And then I'm going to kick him out, and then Ben Davidson's also going to come in for your guys' questions as well. So if you want any questions with me, fire away. He'll be here in a couple of minutes.
Eddie, during these last few years, talk about bringing that Joshua to world, and getting to a third world title, just compete by Daniel Dubois. What is the plan now with Joshua?
Well, probably get a good kip tonight, or try. It's a difficult defeat. But, you know, at this point you have to try and take any positives you can. And it's difficult because the start was disastrous. And the only positives I can take is the unbelievable heart and guts and nuts that he showed to never give up. And I said in the change room, I said, you know, the amount of times I've heard over the years a fighter say, you know, I will rather get knocked out than try and survive or lose on points. I will go out on my shield. He went out on his shield. Even when he didn't have his legs, he was trying to land the right hand and he was trying to find a way back in the fight. And remarkably, as bad as he performed tonight, or as many as mistakes that he made, he still could have won the fight. You know, 4th round he hurt Dubois, 5th round Dubois' legs buckled, and at that point I think this is going to be one of the greatest comebacks I've ever seen. But walked on to a crushing right hand, and unfortunately there was no getting up from the last one.
Eddie.
Yeah, I mean, we have a contracted fight with Riyadh season that could include the Daniel Dubois rematch. I think we need time. You know, I mean, I don't think he could have boxed much worse tonight, but you have to give Dubois brilliant, you know, plenty of credit. He was brilliant tonight. He put the pressure on. We knew that he'd be dangerous in the early part of the fight, and the start couldn't have been worse, really. AJ will believe that he can box much better and beat him, but Dubois is going to be full of confidence. And we have to look what happens on December 21st. If Tyson Fury wins or if Tyson Fury loses. But no immediate rush. But I know what AJ's like, and he would love to have another crack at him.
Eddie,
Yeah, we knew Dubois, he returns all the time when you jab, so that was something that we was looking to capitalise on. For whatever reason, you know, things didn't get going as we'd like to in the early part of the fight. That was just one of the things that we was looking to pick up on. Obviously, there was a few other things as well. But just didn't manage to get the things that we was looking to get going early. And then... a couple of things that we was looking on to capitalise on, like Eddie said at the end, there was a couple of very, very, very short spells of it, and one of those was when he managed to land that right hand, and then there was a couple of things we wanted to do to follow up moments like that, and just didn't apply it the way we'd prepared to, unfortunately. But by that point, a lot had gone on. You know, he's not thinking straight. So, yeah, difficult, very difficult pill to swallow.
Eddie,
No, I was asking for something from him, and he sort of said, like, I'm okay, let me know he's okay, actually talking in there. And then he come back for the last round and just said to me, these are the moments that we live for, you know, and talked about rolling the dice, and that's what he done. And like Eddie said, you know, a lot of people talk about when they're having an off night, and that was an off night, and, you know, I'd just like to say that me and my team have received a hell of a lot of credit for good performances that he's had. So it's important that we take responsibility for the bad performance as well. So we're willing to do that. But you spoke about rolling dice, and like I said, a lot of people talk about when things aren't going well, I'll go out on my shield. But he did that tonight, and a lot of people talk about, is he hesitant to let his hands go? He showed he's not. He let his hands go. Unfortunately, he come off with a short straw tonight. But, yeah, obviously we're very, very gutted.
Eddie, another positive 96,000 at Wembley Stadium. Sorry, Eddie. One positive from the fight, I mean, 96,000 at Wembley Stadium tonight. A lot of people would argue without Anthony Joshua,
considerable amount of stadium fights wouldn't be filled the way they were. I mean, how do you reflect on the massive crowd in there to support Anthony Joshua tonight?
It was incredible, and you know, I think Daniel Dubois deserves a lot of credit as well. You know, I don't think he was disrespected as the champion, but he was the clear B-side in the fight, and he come out as a star tonight as well. You know, I think he's a handful. You know, he's a good young man, and he's come back from a lot as well. You know, people have written AJ off before in the past. We all wrote Daniel Dubois off, me included. You know, and actually he showed again tonight. Took some good shots tonight. You know, and it was only really when the 4th and 5th round come that I was thinking, actually, we could start breaking him down here. But by then, like Ben said, you know, because of the start, it's so difficult without a clear head to actually apply the things that he's been working on. And even then, you know, my dad messaged me. He said, wow, he said, made so many basic errors and still could have won the fight. You know, and that's a positive to take out of it. That I said to him, you've got to be proud you even found a way back into the fight. Because after the second round, for me, the fight's done. It's over. And, you know, people always question people's heart. You know, even the last knockout, he's scrambling to get up. He couldn't have tried another inch. And that's all you can give to people, you know. And I think when you do that, you can look yourself in the mirror and say, I might not have been good enough tonight, but I've tried my nuts off and I gave everything. And I spoke to him last night and he said to me, I'm ready to go to the trenches tomorrow night. He went all the way in the trenches. You know, people talk about taking a knee, spitting a gum shield out. I mean, listen, when Daniel Dubois hit him in the nuts in the 3rd or 4th round, I'm screaming at AJ to take the full 5 minutes. Like, that's actually a little bit of inexperience. Like, at that point, when he couldn't stand up, he's been hit full-blown in the conkers, right? All he's got to do to the ref is just, you know, but that's not him. He just went to ref, I'm fine, come on, let's go. And I'm like, no, what are you doing? And then it happened again. Because he just came to fight tonight. And, you know, when you talk about entertainment, maybe vulnerability, but also a huge puncher that's prepared to let his hands go. It was a hell of a fight. You know, and like I said, as gutted as we are, Daniel deserves a lot of credit because tonight was his crowning night. Not being elevated to interim champion. Tonight was the night that I believe he become a real world champion. And, you know, he's got a big future ahead of him as well.
Eddie, obviously, AJ is going to be disappointed. He was excited to be back at Wembley in front of 96,000 people. But we'll all agree he showed so much heart tonight. How much admiration do you have for him for doing that?
Always, because I think when you... It's not just the admiration of being in the ring, it's the admiration of how he lives his life, how consistent he is working with Ben, and the achievements that he's had in his career, the money that he's made, and he still wants it more than ever. And, you know, I think, you know, unless there's something Ben's not telling me or AJ's not telling me, which I know there isn't, camp was good. You know, like, no excuses, well prepared, nice and confident, looked unbelievable in the changing room. I mean, punching so hard. But just had a disastrous start. And unfortunately, against a big, strong puncher, it's hard to recover. And, you know, he nearly did. But the admiration is not just about what he did tonight. He went to deeper depths tonight than I thought he would or could, in all honesty. Like, and that's total respect for him, because it's not just hanging on. It's standing there and letting your hands go when your legs are gone. Do you know what I'm saying? It's a difference. Someone comes in and they lose every round, they go 12 rounds, and it's a little bit of a celebration. Oh, yeah, I lost on... He was like, he was either going to get knocked out or he was going to flatten Daniel Dubois. And unfortunately, it was the first one.
Eddie,
there was a bit of traffic and he did turn up slightly later than we would have planned, but being honest, you know, he was very well prepared. You know, we knew Daniel was going to start fast. There was nothing that shocked us in that, we didn't expect him to do that. Just, whatever reason, got off to a bad start. And, you know, it's very early, coming off the back of the fight. We'll go back, we'll review what we could have done better, of course, and go from there.
Eddie,
Yeah.
When it comes to Anthony Joshua, across social media, some people will look at him 34, going to be 35. There'll be talks of, is this the time to retire? What will you say to AJ in terms of his future?
Well, I mean, you know, everyone's very fickle, aren't they? Yesterday, he's in the form of his life, never looked better. Wow, this is unbelievable, this new resurgence. As a bad start, you know, gets dropped, tries to recover his feet and just goes to war, basically, with no legs, and finds a way back into the fight and then walks onto one. So it's heavyweight boxing, and that's the dangers of this fight. We said before, you know, Frank was talking about Hagler Hearns. I mean, you know, it takes a lot of beating, that kind of fight, but it was a thriller. And, you know, we just felt that maybe the tide was about to change, but you have to give Daniel credit. I'm going to pass the mic to AJ. I've explained you wanted to come and do this. I told you not to, but you always do it. We're not going to take questions, but you wanted to say a few words.
Firstly, always walk with your head high. We took a shot at success and we came up short, unfortunately. We rolled the dice, man, for the third time. There's 13 world title fights. Not everyone's been successful, but everyone's been fun and entertaining. We're trying to create history for British boxing, and I think we're doing that. And also, I appreciate all the press, media. The fans aren't here, but I thank them through you guys. I'm sure you guys will let them know that we're appreciating their support. And probably you're asking, do I still want to continue fighting? Of course I want to continue fighting. That's what I said is, we took a shot at success and we came up short. And what does that mean now? We're going to run away? Or we're going to live to fight another day? And that's what I'm a warrior. And also, before I finish, we have to give credit to our opponent as well, Daniel. Even though when I sign up to fight opponents, I don't really like him in my head anymore. But now it's done. I take my hat off to him and say, well done, Tim and his team. And also thank you to my team as well for the way they prepared me. There was a few mistakes in there, but that's the name of the game. Fine margins can cost you at the top level. So thank you.
Right.
Is that all good? That all good?
Yeah.
Yeah? Thank you guys again. Much appreciated. God bless.
Right. I knew he'd want to stay. I told you. Thanks, AJ. Guys, carry on if you...
Ben, question to you. If there is a rematch, if you're in his corner for said rematch, what do you think AJ needs to do to try and win back that belt or just beat Daniel?
Like I say, we'll have to go back and review it because he knows what he needs to do. There was nothing that Daniel done that shocked us. That we was expecting him to do those things. Preparation did go well. We prepared well. So we'll have to go back and look at that, you know. Of course, now we have that fight to look at. Of course, I already know there's a couple of things, adjustments that could. When situations occur, there's more than one way to skin a cat. So perhaps some of the ways that we was looking to skin that cat, maybe there's some better options of how to try and tackle those scenarios and situations. So, yeah, of course, you know, we'll be straight at looking at and reviewing that and looking at what we can do better to help AJ be better.
Do you still think it's a winnable fight?
Yeah, of course. Like Eddie, look, he got off to a shocking start and still not nearly won the fight, but you know, we're still in the fight after such a bad start. And I'm just very, very proud of what he showed in there after such a bad start against such a young, strong, hungry fighter like Daniel Dubois. A terrible situation to be in. I'm not saying a lot of fighters would quit in a sense of asked to be pulled out, but a lot of fighters wouldn't keep trying to fight the way that AJ did. So I'm just really proud of him for that.
Ben, what were you saying to him in between the last couple of rounds? I know it would have all been happening so fast. Was there ever a time in your mind when it came across that he might actually be too tough for his own good and you would have to intervene at any stage there?
Yeah, of course you have to keep that in mind when a fight's going like that. So it's something that you have to keep in your mind and be aware of. going into the last round, like I already explained, he come back to the corner. He said, "These are the moments we live for, tough moments," and spoke about rolling the dice. He rolled the dice and hurt Daniel, but was just a little bit reckless in terms of his application right in the final moments. But there was issues that occurred way before that situation, so that wasn't the main issue. But it's just obviously it was the final issue.
Eddie, so you've been here before with Anthony, building him back up after defeats, but just the manner of the defeat tonight. That's the first time I think we've seen him really hurt at the end of a fight. But would that concern you going forward?
I think to be honest with you, it's probably the only time in his whole career I've seen him really hurt. So it's not bad, having won 2 World Heavyweight Championships, 13 World Championship fights, and that's the only time he's really been hurt to a point where he couldn't get up. Do you know what I mean? Heavyweights get knocked out all the time, and you never want to see a heavyweight get knocked out, but it is the first time in his career he's been properly hurt. So you never want to see it, and you never want to carry on too long, but at the same time, AJ is a heavyweight that doesn't actually have many miles on the clock, in all honesty. And, the moment that Ben comes to me and says, just doesn't look the same fighter anymore. And by the way, AJ is the one that will call that shot before anyone. Fighters sometimes need saving from themselves. AJ's a smart guy. He's got a big team of people around him. We all know that we've seen the best AJ over the last year. So, it's difficult to say just because he got chinned tonight, well, that's it, But, of course, he's in the closing chapters of his career. There's no doubt about that. And now, obviously, we have another fight with Riyadh season and Turki Al-Sheikh. And Daniel Dubois is part of that plan. But so too could be Tyson Fury or another heavyweight. So, look, I think that 2025... is going to be an interesting year for Anthony Joshua, one way or the other. But he will definitely be back. And whether it's against Daniel Dubois, Tyson Fury, whoever, you're going to be entertained. Because, that was incredibly entertaining. Albeit you don't want to see your fighter get beat like that. But our interests are to make sure that he leaves this sport with legacy, with a huge amount of money in the bank, but also with his health intact. And, if you start getting knocked out like that, you certainly have to look at it. But really the first time in his career when he hasn't been able to get off the deck. And there's been many times he's been down and never not tried to get up. But that one was just a shot. When you try and land an uppercut and you get caught trading by a huge right hand, it doesn't matter who you are, you're getting knocked out. Unfortunately, it happened with a lot of damage on the clock. And that's perhaps why it ended the way it did.
Can you give us a little bit of insight into how to mitigate the risk? You said it wasn't going according to plan. Are you trying to remind him of the plan, or are you trying to come up with a contingency when you see things not going wrong? What is it like in the corner?
Yeah, well, you go into a fight with knowing the tendencies of the opponent through previous fights of his, and then during the course of the fight, certain tendencies might stand out more. For example, when you do this, he's often doing that. This is how you deal with that situation. So we're trying to... But when you get off to a bad start like that, at the same time we was trying to... Situations were occurring that we didn't want to happen. So we're trying to deal with those situations. This is the best way to deal with that. And then, this is the best way to deal with that situation in a safety-first manner. And then these are situations where, you might take a risk on this. This situation keeps happening. You're going to have to be ballsy in this situation. And he did that. And there was a couple of shots that he landed when he did do those things and settled things down or hurt Daniel. And then the application after that wasn't quite what we was looking for. So, but... This is heavyweight boxing, these things happen. Doesn't mean that it's okay, doesn't mean that it's fine, doesn't mean that we're not going to go back and say, look, we need to do this better, or this is a situation that we need to look at and review. But, we're well aware, and he went out on his shield, and that's all you can ask for.
Ben, I spoke to Usyk, and he basically said AJ was in the pocket for too long and his right hand was too low and he was leaning back rather than taking a step back. He said that was the reason why he kept taking the right hands.
Yeah, his feet were lagging a little bit. He wasn't as sharp on his feet. You know, that was something that we spoke about. We wanted him to defend with his feet first in situations when Daniel was rushing in, or drop and tie up. We didn't want him to sit there, catch him for too long. No, Daniel's heavy-handed, not a smart approach. And of course, didn't want him getting caught, not being ready and unaware. And those things unfortunately happened.
Eddie, AJ has had setbacks before that he's overcome. Do you see this one being any different? How do you make sure that he gets through this?
I mean, because I know he'll be consistent, you know, and I think the key now is to make sure that when he comes back physically, he's fine. I mean, I don't see it being a fight that ends his career. But as I said, he's in the final chapter or chapters of the career, and that was a big blow because we fancied winning tonight and then fighting the winner of Fury against Usyk, and we may end up fighting the loser of that fight, maybe if it's Tyson Fury. But you know, you got the Dubois rematch, you got other fights out there, but I think it's really about returning to the gym and having time off and seeing how you come back with Ben. You know, I mean, a lot depends on how you're performing in the gym, and like I say, we've been performing really well in the gym. So no excuses. Like, we can't sit here and say, oh yeah, we didn't feel great in the gym or we didn't look good. We did, and we fancied it tonight, but we were beaten by the better man.
Yeah, thank you.
I just don't. I mean, look, again, we're a team, so we discuss all of this together. The rebuild, you know, at this stage, I mean, we've rebuilt. We've had 4 good wins. The last 2 look really good. And we got beat tonight. So do we want to go and rebuild with another 2 or 3 fights? I don't think so. But we definitely have to make the right steps. It's a very important decision, the next one, because it could be the end of the road, the next one. You know, and you want to make sure that you're in the right fight at the right time with the right preparation. And if that involves a rebuild fight, maybe we'll look at it. But I don't feel like at this stage in his career he's going to want to go through a training camp for a small fight. He wants to be in the big fights. And I think when he reflects tonight, weirdly, I mean, he's going to be devastated, but there is a little bit of an element that he enjoyed it. Do you know what I mean? Because he kind of said yesterday that he's ready to go to war. And he did go to war. Unfortunately, he come out on the poor end. But he did dig in, you know, and he never stopped trying to win, even, like I said, when he didn't have his legs.
Eddie.
Is it going to be difficult to maybe, not necessarily convince him, but talk to him about the other possibilities because his head might be...
Yeah, I think he's always, you know, if you look at his 2 defeats, after the fight, the following day, he never wavered from wanting to take the rematch. I mean, to be honest with you, everyone told us not to fight Alexander Usyk, to just vacate the belt. This isn't the first fight. But the plan and the dream was always to be undisputed, and it was a waste of time vacating a belt. The rematch, everyone said to him, don't take the rematch with Alexander Usyk. And he said, I'm taking the rematch. They also told him not to go straight into the Andy Ruiz rematch, and he won every round in that fight. So this is a fight where, you know, you can see online, you don't want to go back into that rematch. It's dangerous. Dubois is going to be full of confidence. We think that AJ can perform much better, but there will be other options out there for him. But I know that in his head, any fighter will want to avenge a defeat. But it's our job to look commercially at the fights. I just know he's going to want a big fight. I just don't believe he's going to want to come back in February or March and have a run out, you know, Hellenius or Franklin or these kind of fights. We've done that. And I feel like the next decision will be very important.
Eddie, over here, Eddie.
Mm. Mm. Not really. I think he's done unbelievable. I mean, I feel like a kid that has come off an estate in Watford to win an Olympic gold medal, a World Championship silver, where he actually got robbed in, a British title, a Commonwealth title, a world title, completely transform British boxing to a place that we never believed it would ever be. To carry himself in such a way that, you know, just inspires the next generation, that generates grassroots boxing, saved all the gyms in lockdown, invested his own money into the gyms in lockdown, goes to Finchley ABC, stands out there all night talking to the kids, wins a second world heavyweight title, sells out 96,000 at Wembley, trying to win a third world title against a young kid that can really punch and is really dangerous. I mean, this is legacy beyond just Fury and Wilder. For sure, you know, it would have been great to take those fights. But what he has done will never, ever be repeated. Not necessarily in the ring, but the way he's carried himself and the way he's transformed the sport, we're all beneficiaries of it, aren't we? You, me, for sure, Ben, all of us in here. And tonight wouldn't be happening without Anthony Joshua, because we wouldn't have reached this stage. He transformed the heavyweight division in this country. He made stadium fights a thing of the norm. So Anthony's legacy will live on in the gyms. It will live on at Team GB. And it will live on throughout British boxing. So Wilder, Fury, yeah, unlucky. You know, who knows what's going to happen in the future. But it's done. We should be celebrating his achievements. We should be celebrating the fact that he's a bloody good bloke. And he's now proven that he's got a massive set of cojones on him. And he's willing to go out on his shield. And if tonight was the last one, which I don't believe it will be, or if the next one's the last one, let's enjoy it, give him respect, and know that nights like tonight, he's responsible for. And we owe him a huge amount.
Eddie, I'm over here. I've been waiting patiently. Listen, I want to keep it positive, right? Because being ex-fighters, seeing what you've done for boxing the last 10 years and what you've done for Anthony, could you have even imagined at the start of the journey with Anthony that you would have got to these heights? And in your own words, could you explain to us how proud of you are?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think Anthony came out of the Olympics. I remember watching Anthony in the final of the Olympics, and I was half thinking, please don't win, because it's going to cost me a fortune if you win this gold medal. And he did, and he came into the office, and I was just fascinated by the way he carried himself. And I thought, wow, we've got a real chance here to have a star that we've never seen before in the sport. And if you look at great fighters like Calzaghe and Naz and Eubank, none of them inspired the younger generation to go and get themselves fit or follow their dreams or start in amateur boxing clubs. There's never been a fighter like that before. And, you know, I remember his debut against Emmanuel Elio. You have to remember that AJ, for so long, was boxing outside of his comfort zone without actually the experience or maybe even the ability to be in those fights. And it's actually, he's evolved as a fighter. And sometimes you come up against different styles that are harder to, you know, to deal with. And tonight may be one of those as well. But like when he was putting it all on the line against Klitschko and these guys, he was just rolling the dice every time. So I'm actually more proud of him tonight than I've probably ever been in his career before. Because when you've got a guy who hasn't got his legs and he's just holding his feet, letting right hands go, and, you know, that moment, and I know it was only 10 seconds, 15 seconds in the fifth round, you know, maybe in my deluded mind, I'm thinking he's going to do it. And this is going to be the greatest comeback I've ever seen. And then disaster, you get caught trading. And it's, but again, you get knocked out like that. When he got knocked out, he was going for the kill to end the fight. He wasn't backing up, trying to cover up, trying to hold, trying to survive. He went out to try and knock out Daniel Dubois and walked onto a right hand. Couldn't be prouder. And gave it everything tonight. And that's fine. And that's why when we talk about the Ruiz defeat, people will never really know about the Ruiz defeat because he'll never talk about it. But the reality is, tonight was one you can take on the chin. Ruiz was one, I can't believe we lost that. Shouldn't have lost that fight. Tonight was like, beaten by the better man, you gave it everything. What a great fight. Sport. So the defeat is never easy, but it softens the blow very slightly. I think I've been talking too much. No one wants to talk anymore. All right, last one, come on.
Obviously, we've spoken about legacy. Do you still believe that one day Anthony will become three-time heavyweight champion?
Yeah, I believe he can beat Daniel Dubois. You know, but he's got to get it right. If he fights like that again, he won't beat Daniel Dubois. if he fights like he should do and can do, he can beat him. But he's going to be fighting a guy with more confidence in Daniel Dubois that is improving as well. So he's up against it. So, you know, I think that at this stage, I know what will be in Anthony's mind. Probably the World Championship. You know, I feel like the World Championship meant a little bit more to him this time around. But I feel like moving forward, it will just be, give me the biggest fights. And then if you get beat again, then you're going to have a tough decision to make. But he'll always want to win the world title, but I think he'll just want the biggest fights that are out there in 2025.
What do you want from him?
Want him to be happy. Said it after the Usyk fight, didn't I? Same thing. And I've seen his happiness turn around a lot, particularly since he started working with Ben. You know, I mean, AJ's always been searching, you know, at GB, improve here, bring this person in, bring this person, move his entire life to America, go with Derek James. Is this going to work? Is this going to work? And who would have thought he'd find solace in Harlow? There's nothing wrong with Harlow. Do you know what I mean? That's only 15 minutes from me, which is fantastic. But he's happy. He's loving his boxing. He's enjoying his life. He loved tonight. He loved the experience. He loved the fight week. He loved being back at Wembley. And I actually think in a weird way, when he looks back, I think he will kind of half have enjoyed the fight in the fact that he was beating his chest saying, come on. You know, because he's never really been in a fight like that before. He's been in loads of different fights, but never really a fight like that. And you don't want to be in too many fights like that. But part of him will go, fucking hell, we went to war last night. And he really did. So I hope he gets the respect that, as I say, when he got chinned, he was trying to close the show and knock out Daniel Dubois. And not many people do that when they've been down 3 times and have no legs. Never stop trying to win.
Okay,
Guys,
thank you, everybody.
Thank
Thanks
you
for your
for a
attendance.
phenomenal night. Thank you for all your support. We'll see you next week.
Cheers.
Night. Thank you for all your support. We'll see you next week.
Cheers.